Hey guys, welcome back to this channel. My name is Anita. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you to my subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? So without further ado, I'll just delve into the topic for today. As we all know, we are on the 16 days of activism against GBV, and we had already started that topic with Susan earlier on. And I'd just like to dedicate these 16 days of activism against GBV to just talk about it. This will be until 10th December. So today I'd like to share my own experiences, the personal experiences I have had concerning GBV. So this is just to encourage more people to talk about their experiences, and maybe people around us, will start seeing that it's truly a big problem. And maybe then those who haven't maybe joined the cause to try and protect women and girls from GBV will think about joining, because it's something really important and many people need to see the seriousness of this. So I'll start immediately. In 2015, sometime in June, I was so excited. I got an assignment to work in the Dadaab refugee camp. It was a very exciting moment for me, and of course I was going to work with the UN. Yeah, so I went. I was so excited about this. It was such a big thing for me. It was a good opportunity, and it still is. And I'm grateful to God that I got that chance to go to the field and work. So you can imagine the excitement, you can get when you get a job and all that. And you're really looking forward to really good things, and you can't think about any negative things. So it so happened that it was my first week in Dadaab. Let's say the first day I was in Dadaab, I actually got a few people who became my friends, who were like guardian angels to me. They were showing me around and introducing me to people everywhere. They're still my friends. I love them so much. So first day, yeah, I start working, and then second day I start feeling like, when I'm still being oriented, I start feeling like I'm being watched on the second day. So, and then I just ignore this. So let's say I went to Dadaab on a Monday. So Monday I'm there from morning to evening, of course, because it was my new duty station. And then the second day I start feeling like I'm being followed and being watched. That was from like Tuesday evening. Wednesday evening the same happens, because I was still getting to know my way around, the cafeteria, and sometimes I still like to stay in the office a bit late, when maybe we were supposed to leave the office at 6, I could stay up to probably 8. Well, because I was still trying to learn my way around and learn everything. So this is my third day in Dadaab, and I'm already feeling like somebody is following me and watching me. And when I joined Dadaab, actually it happened that people were being given accommodation according to the length of your stay there. So since I had just joined, I was put in a tent. But what I didn't know about this tent is that anyone from outside can access the tent. So I didn't know this, and I was put in a tent. When I joined, that was what was happening. So as time goes by, that's when someone would be qualified to maybe go to a more permanent accommodation. So yeah, so fourth day, I still feel the same thing. Like I'm in my tent, I'm showering, like I'm changing, I'm dressing up, and I feel like somebody is really watching me. And these tents were actually very spacious, but of course they had spaces where I think somebody from outside could peek and see what's inside, especially when the lights were on. So even when showering, I could feel like I'm really being watched. But I didn't know what to do about this. I thought I was being paranoid. So I didn't even talk to anyone about it. First of all, I was new. That was just my 4th day, because I started feeling like I'm being watched from the 2nd day. 2nd, 3rd, 4th day. Then on the 5th day, this is on a Friday, the feeling was so strong. I could feel it so strongly that when I showered and changed into my pajamas, and I could just feel it so strongly, like someone is really watching me. I decided I'm going to sleep with my lights on. The good thing about this tent is that the switch for the lights was somewhere really hidden, so it wouldn't be easy from anyone to just come and switch off the light. So that's what I did. I decided to sleep with my lights off. And then because I don't know, and then that was about 10 p.m. when I was turning in. And then at around 2 a.m. I just suddenly opened my eyes. I don't know how I did that. I think up to date, I think that was really God. I opened my eyes and I found someone on top of me. This guy had somehow gotten into my tent. I didn't hear him getting into the tent. Apparently, yes, like I mentioned earlier, these tents could be opened from outside. So he had opened my tent, he had sneaked into the tent, and he had climbed on my bed. And he was now looking at me. The good thing is that I had a net around me because there were mosquitoes in the dab, so using net was really a necessity. So I had the net around me, so that was the only barrier we had between me and the guy. I see him and I start screaming. I screamed so loudly, and then he ran out of the tent, and he was wearing shoes, so he quickly ran out of the tent. I only got to see his face just a bit. So I noticed I didn't notice so much of his like physical features and all that, but I saw his face. And then he ran out and disappeared into the night. Good thing when I screamed, apparently in the next tent there was a security officer just next. So he heard my screams and got out. I also got out, and I just became suspicious of everybody. Like, I became suspicious of every man, even the security officer that came to rescue me. I became so suspicious of him. Like, I just couldn't trust. It could be anyone in my tent. It could be more than one person. Maybe they had an agreement or something like that. Maybe it was a group of people and only one of them got into my tent. So, and because I was new, I didn't know anybody, I was now suspicious of every man that was coming near me. So as the security officer was talking to me, I was also calling the number that I needed to call security. So the security came, and the security officers and everyone around in those tents also woke up, because there was now commotion, and I was now being asked to describe this guy, but I couldn't remember him so well because I only saw his face only. So the security guy that was just next to me, I have to say that person, he was very skilled. He managed to trace the shoe steps, the shoe tracks of this guy from my tent. And because the dab is sandy, so there was sand all over the place outside, so he traced the shoe tracks all the way to another tent, and they found this guy hiding in another tent that had no occupant. Apparently the occupant of that tent was on leave. yeah, so they found him there, and I just couldn't go back to sleep. I couldn't go back to sleep. I called one of my friends who had already made it, and I asked her if I could go and live in her house, because she'd been there for a while, so she was living in a more permanent accommodation. Hey, so I went to her place, and then that is where my problem started. I didn't realize that this kind of thing can affect someone so much. So that night I couldn't sleep. I tried sleeping actually, and I woke up screaming. I woke up screaming because I imagined I had a nightmare, and I saw this guy standing right next to me. Right next to me. I was sleeping on the bed, and he was right there. Like, I could see his face very close to me. That's what I saw in that dream. So I woke up screaming, and I was really sweating. And that was the first day. And the second day was the same thing. And the third day was the same thing. And I kept having these nightmares and not sleeping well. Every night, I couldn't sleep well. I woke up screaming every night for close to a month. It was so crazy. And I remember there was also a time when I was also going through this phase that I was in the gym working out, and someone decided to play a prank on me. So he came behind my back and just pranking me, like trying to scare me. And without realizing, that kind of thing really affects people, because my mental state was already in a wreck because of what happened. And then now someone comes and tries to do this to me like a prank. I screamed a lot, and I realized this thing hasn't gone. That was now a month plus after that incident, and this happened. So I thought about it, and I was like, wow, if this thing can affect me this much, I wonder how much it affects someone who actually has gone through it. God forbid if I was raped. I mean, it would take a lifetime to get through that. I mean, it's so bad. You don't realize it until something like that happens to you. It affects the mental state so much. And I just realized that people really need to be supportive of people who've been through that. It really affects people, even if nothing has happened. Like me, luckily I found this guy like on top of me, like on my bed already. And I screamed, and he got out before he did anything serious. So, and it affected my mental state so much for more than a month. And I was just imagining, for those who have gone through like the rape ordeal, how do they feel? Like, they must be really in pain. They must be really in a wreck. And it requires people to have this kind of emotional maturity, to give them support, to be there for them, to understand that this thing is very serious, it's very bad, and we need protection. Women and girls need protection. So anyway, before I end the story, the guy was arrested. But then you realize when something like that happens, then you find yourself alone. So I was alone because it was my case against this guy. The guy was not a UN employee, no. The guy apparently was a refugee. And funnily, this refugee managed to sneak into the UN compound at night. Yeah, so he was arrested, and he was in jail for some months. There's a time I went to court to just identify him, and I saw him there. And you can imagine the policemen there were trying to talk me out of it. They were saying he's already learned his lesson, you should let him go. And you realize there's not much support that, legally I would want to get. I had a colleague who is a lawyer who used to help me with these things. He could give me advice on what to do. But then actually that case didn't go anywhere. After my first day in court, actually that was the last. I never went back, and later I realized I heard the guy was released. And you know, what's even makes it worse is that the people who were this guy's mom, a refugee also, was going through my colleagues to ask me to forgive her son. And you know, there was so much pressure to forgive and to let go, and it was so crazy that I didn't follow up. So later I heard the guy was released. I didn't follow up. On the part of UN, it really made them think about security so much. So they put measures to actually prevent anybody who is not staff to get into the compound after working hours. And also, women were no longer allowed to sleep in tents. Yeah, women were now given more permanent accommodation. New staff or women were given more permanent accommodation, and that happened because of what happened to me. So I can imagine many others go through that, and you know, sometimes you don't get enough support, so you don't even think of speaking up about it. You don't think of, you know, talking to anyone about it, because you just know there won't be any support. So this is my appeal to everybody to, you know, just think about women and girls. Mostly women and girls are affected. You give them the support that they require, give them the protection that they require. I think security, authorities should be educated on SGBV and all these things. It's not just about the act. It's not just about the act. It's about also what happens after that, about the mental state after that, about the life they live after that. It's a lot that people don't think about that actually happen, and nobody deserves to go through that. Women and girls deserve protection from SGBV. And that aside, that happened to me when I was an adult. I can imagine I've had also two incidences when I was a child that now when I think about them, I see, wow, I was actually in danger and I didn't realize it. And there was once I remember I was playing with my siblings at a compound that was just adjacent to ours when I was a child. Yeah. So at this point, we liked that house. It was a big house. It was really nice, really modern. And I remember my siblings were now playing outside. They had left me in the house, and there was the son of the owner of the house, who was, I think, around 20 something then. Then I was really young. I was probably 8 years old. Yeah. And I just remember this guy, when he noticed no one else was around, he was telling me, hey, can you come hug me, come touch me here. And I don't know, I just got a sense that something is not right, and I ran out. Good thing also my brother was calling me, and I said, my brother is calling me, I have to go. And you know, I didn't realize how that was very dangerous until much later when I sat down and thought, wow, I was actually in a very dangerous situation then. And then another incident was when I was in school, and there was this teacher who, I don't know, kind of used to pretend. I don't know if it was pretense or it was just his nature, that he really liked me. So there was this time he called me to his office, and his office was really dark, and he was hugging me. You know, I was really young. I think I was about 13. Was I 13? Yeah, I was about 13 years old, and he's there hugging me. My chest is flat. I had no boobs then. So he was hugging me and he was trying to touch me around my chest. And after he did that, he gave me 10 shillings and he said, go buy yourself a chapati. Now when I think about then, I kind of felt something wrong, but I didn't tell anyone. I didn't even tell my parents about it. But I kind of started hating the teacher. I kind of hated him and actually was not comfortable having him around me, having him near me or anything like that. I didn't like it. But I didn't mention this to anyone until much later when I mentioned it to a friend. And I even told a friend, you're the first person I've ever told this. I've never told anyone else. But now I'm telling the whole world, I'm telling people so that we try to be alert. We need to be alert and we need to put protective measures against these things. We need to think about these things really deeply. It can happen to anyone, anywhere. It can happen to the children. It can happen to adults. It can happen in school, where you think the child is really safe. So we need to also try to talk to our kids about it and just let them be free and, ask them about these deeper issues so that they can be free to discuss, free to open up about it, because you never know which battles the kids are fighting. Yeah, so I think we really need to talk about this. It's a conversation that we cannot talk about just in 16 days. It's a conversation that needs to be ongoing, for a lifetime until we make a change. And even after we make a change, we still need to talk about it. So protection is needed against SGBV. So I encourage people to talk about your experiences. Let's shame these people and, let's bring awareness, because right now I think there's no awareness, or there's little awareness, and people think that it's just something simple, just something that happens and disappears. It actually doesn't disappear. It stays in your mind forever. Like something that happened when I was 8 years and I still remember. And so you can imagine the people who go through the whole ordeal, like 100%. It actually destroys their life. So let's talk about these things. They're very serious. They're nothing to laugh about. And hopefully we'll make these changes together. And more people will now start looking at these things seriously. It's not just about policy. It's about action, because the policy can be there, but is there action? So let's be our brothers' keepers. Let's be our sisters' keepers. Let us think about them deeply. Thank you so much, and I hope to have more conversations about this. Like I said, I'm going to be dedicating these 16 days to talking about SGBV. So enjoy this channel and see you next time. Bye.